Good morning and welcome to LeagueWise DFS Daily Review, where I take a look back at the most recent slate featured in Fins 5, my daily League of Legends DFS picks and strategy show, which airs daily. If you haven't checked it out, we will have two installments later today. The first installment will cover the two-game LCS slate for today, and the second, tomorrow morning's two-game LPL slate. You can also check out past episodes if you'd like to as well. Make sure, while doing so, to show your support by hitting the like and subscribe buttons below and ring the notification button or bell to make sure you never miss a new video. Today in our first match of the day, we saw RNG and LNG in yesterday's Fins 5. I picked RNG, thought they were going to win this one pretty convincingly. In game one, it was a pretty even draft. Both sides really played well. LNG ended up winning a 50-minute game. RNG held a gold lead for the first 40 minutes of the game. LNG did a really good job of just answering and hanging around, was great in dragon control and capitalized with a late elder buff to end. LNG looks like maybe beating FPX was no accident. My apologies to LNG. I was not a believer, but I'm starting to head in that direction. LNG's Light was the MVP of game one. Game two, or let me go over the stats for game one here real quick. Well, game info isn't available on that game for whatever reason. So we'll have no stats for this series. Game two, scaling and engage equals win. I mean, you saw it in yesterday's games that I watched. It really seems like in this meta, a scaling comp with engage has become a great equalizer. LNG, in my opinion, won the draft. They won early game. They transferred that advantage to mid game and finished in under 30 minutes. And now have wins versus FPX and RNG, two teams that most people would agree are world's contenders, certainly contenders to win the LPL. And that's impressive. It goes to show anything can happen in the LPL. LNG really here early in the season has set their table for the rest of the split. I really have nothing bad to say. Their coordination and team fight mechanics were really good today. They were pretty good against FPX too, although I think FPX just didn't look like FPX to me. Their mechanics were good. It really seemed like they were in control at all moments in both games. Game two, LNG's Light was MVP again. I'll have to admit, I did not see this coming, but this is why we hedge. We talked about it yesterday. I'm going to be talking about it more and more and more and more. It is the only way that you can guarantee yourself a chance to place in every tourney that you enter, especially these two-game slates. I'm also in the process of working on another hedging strategy for larger slates as well. Once I feel comfortable enough to share that strategy, that I feel it's legit, I'll go ahead and do so, either in one of these videos or in a separate video. In the meantime, if you have any questions regarding hedging, feel free to ask in the comment section below or ask me on Twitter at the Chad Finn. Match two, we saw FPX and BLM. This is in Fins 5 yesterday. I picked FPX to win this one in two games. Game one, I felt was a good draft for FPX, although I wasn't crazy about doing B on Karma. He ended up doing well. I just not crazy about these support mages like Karma in the mid lane. I want to see a player like doing B who is a carry mid laner. I want to see him on carry champions, especially when I'm playing him. I want him on carry champions. Not much here. FPX looked good. Tian looked solid. Doing B was good on Karma. Overall, FPX was back to doing FPX things. LWX looked good as well, and was the MVP. Game two, BLG got off to a really good start. had the lead but couldn't hold on. When watching games, this is one thing I want to talk to you guys about. And I don't know how much you guys watch games. I definitely recommend that you do. Like I said, my alarm is set at 3 o'clock every morning for these LPL games. When they start going to the 4-game slate, I think they might even start at an hour earlier. Whatever it is, I'm up, I'm watching them. Just like with football, I used to coach, and I've always been a film guy. So watching these games, it helps me get an understanding of what teams are trying to do and where good matchups and bad matchups might exist, so on and so forth. One thing that you guys can do in watching, and it's a real easy way to, in League of Legends, to tell if a team is good or not. When watching games, see how they capitalize or transfer a lead. And leads are really based not just on kills so much in League of Legends, but gold is everything. Very rarely will you ever see a team win with a gold deficit. You'll more often see teams win with even kills, or you can see teams win with less kills depending on how things go. But very rarely will you ever see a team win with a gold deficit. So always pay attention to the gold. In League of Legends, there are 3 game phases. There's early game, mid game, late game. A good team can stall deficits in an early game, and kind of hang around like LNG did in game 1. And advance leads, a good team will advance leads from stage to stage based on the win condition they're playing for. And if we look back at game 1 of this series, in 5-minute marks in reference to gold, it looked like this. And, just kind of pay attention and I'll kind of sum it up. But in game 1, at the 5-minute mark, FPX was up 200 gold. At the 10-minute mark, BLG had come back, taken a 500 gold lead. At the 15-minute mark of game 1, FPX had established a 2,700 gold lead. And then look what they did with that. Once they established that solid lead, did they just stall out, or did they advance that? At the 20-minute mark, they were up 9,000 gold, and then they ended the game before 25 minutes with a 12,000 gold lead. That's what a good team does. When they get that lead, they advance it and they close. In game 2, BLG got off to an even better start. They were up 1,000 gold. At the 10-minute mark, BLG was up 1,700 gold. What are they going to do with it? Are they going to advance it? The 15-minute mark, they're at 1,900 gold. That means over that next 5 minutes of that early game, FPX did a good job of stalling that out. At the 20-minute mark, BLG did pretty good in that 5 minutes. They advanced it to 3,000, and we're really getting into where it should have been their advantage with a scaling comp with Ornn, because at this point, Ornn can be worth up to like 5,000 additional gold because he has bonuses that can be applied to items. Those bonuses are worth about 1,000 gold each. Just, it varies, but 1,000 gold is a pretty good average. So their gold lead was even more significant than what this number shows at this point. But at the 20-minute mark, they were up 3,000. What are they going to do? Are they going to advance it? At the 25-minute mark, they were only up 2,000. At the 30-minute mark, FPX had actually taken a 1,200 gold lead. At the 35-minute mark, FPX was up 7,000, and then they closed out 7,500. That is what you'll see a good team, and I always take notes of every game as we go through, and I track that gold so I can kind of go back and look at, even at different times during the years, we get a little better feel for, what this session is going to be. Overall, I think BLG showed some good signs. It definitely showed improvement from week 1 and even going back into the spring split. They look like a better team. They actually had an opportunity here. They just didn't have either the mechanical ability in team fights to advance their leads, or they just weren't making good decisions macro. I didn't see anything on a macro side that jumped out that made me think there's communication problems or there's a shot calling issue. I think BLG made good decisions. I think there's just a mechanical difference between their best players and FPX's best players, and FPX was able to execute their skirmishes and their team fights much better than BLG. That's what I saw anyway. FPX showed that they're still one of the best teams in the LPL, and LNG, looking back, proved themselves to be contenders. I think they're better than a bubble team. We'll just have to see if they can maintain this. And like I said, a lot of this and these upsets are really coming from what I'm going to go ahead and call the great equalizer from now on, and that is the fact that a scaling comp with heavy engage is very easy for teams to execute, and it's powerful enough right now to where I believe it's kind of closed the gap on some of these other comps that more high-skilled teams like FPX and RNG are able to run. I think that's what we're seeing. I will have to see if that continues over patches and in coming weeks with strategies that teams play when it comes to these scaling comps. So looking back on today, I went 1-1 in game picks and won an outstanding $6 on a hedge. Here's what the winning lineup looked like. Well, we'll first take a look at my lineup, which was it was a hedged lineup, so keep that in mind. Like I said, we do our daily picks, but then we moved on to this hedging strategy, which, winning $6 with a $4 entry. I mean, at the end of the day, this ended up being a $6. Anyway, let me get beyond that. Finished with 615 points. 28.9 behind first. I mean, you'd think that'd be worth more than $6, but these League of Legends tournaments are really, really weighted heavily at the top. There's a good number of people you can see that this was split with in these 2-game slates. That's just what you have to deal with. Would have been a more significant win if I had a little better captain spot. Overall, I was pretty happy when this lineup came into play with the ownership percentages. I thought that I had a chance to do a lot better than this. It just depended on who was playing who and how they ended up performing. Do and B didn't really play carry champions today. He played Karma and Galio. He did well on both of them at 135. When we go to the next lineup, you see he needed more than that, and that's where this difference came in. Overall, Khan played okay. Not really all that. First game, second game was better, but that's my lineup that placed today. Hopefully, you guys hedged and did well yourself. The winning lineup, if I jump up here, was split 7 ways. We'll look at Lazy Scoresies, who had Light as a captain at 6.2%, 151. That lied the difference. Everything else was pretty much the same. And that's all it comes down to sometimes. So when you're doing your hedges, keep in mind of, if you have questions about ownership percentage, I know in every Fins 5 I give what teams are going to be most owned, or at least my opinion of how that will break down in order. But ownership percentages can become pretty important. This overall would have been about a $10,000. Well, first place was about $10,000 split 7 ways. So if we look head to head, I'm not sure why it's showing that contest. Not a very good. Oh, here we go. I think it was 3. Yeah. If you looked head to head, where the differences were, doing B Maple 77. He got me there. Even. Everything was pretty even except for these 2 spots, and therein lied the difference. So out of Fins 5, you can see that 2 of the 2 of the 3 FPX players were in the winning lineup. And due to LNG's upset of RNG, obviously, the 2 RNG players didn't make the winning lineup. After this slate, my pick total moves to 11-7, which is 61%, which is respectable. I expect to do better. And winning so far this summer slate are 753-23. It's decent. We have a long ways to go, and I'm telling you, I'm feeling as though I'm starting to get a little better feel for the LPL this summer. If you haven't yet, please go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button for me. Keep an eye out for my LCS Fins 5 this afternoon. I haven't decided if I'm going to cover the LEC this summer. I'm not going to cover it today. But I haven't decided if I'm going to do it over the summer or if I'm just going to focus on the LCS, LPL, and LCK. Those are the 3 leagues that I've spent the most time over the years watching and I feel most comfortable with. We'll see how I feel about the LEC here in give me a couple weeks. Like you've heard me say before, I don't want to give bad advice. Wrong advice is unavoidable. Today I picked RNG over LNG, which ended up being wrong advice. I don't feel that was bad advice. What I'm not okay with is giving bad advice. Bad advice means advice I don't feel qualified to share, or that I feel I'm not speaking from a point of, from a knowledgeable point. I hate using the word expert, but knowledgeable point. So just give me a couple weeks on that. Other than that, I want to thank you for watching. This has been LeagueWise DFS Daily Review. I'm your host, Chad Finn, saying thanks, stay safe, and we will see you later this afternoon on the Rift. Thanks, guys. Enjoy your day.